If you're not currently working from a centralized database, then I'm 100% convinced that you're missing opportunities. You're costing yourself money. The key to being able to understand consistent and regular income isn't deal chasing. It's about developing long-term, replicatable, and consistent relationships whereby people are going to refer you additional customers in the future. And if you're not staying aware of who those people are and what their needs are, how their life has been changing over time, it's going to be really difficult for you to establish value over and over and over again from scratch. I'm frequently approached by both realtors and mortgage lenders, anyone who is in the business of dealing with their own pipeline and generating their own leads in order to sustain their income. And they all ask me a very similar question, and that is, what's the best CRM for me to be using in order to stay in touch with my customers? And so long before we start selecting CRM as a system, let's start really engaging more in a conversation around the process. Just because you have a piece of technology or a computer system, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be able to maintain relationships correctly. Think about the personal relationships you have in your life. Do you need a piece of technology to help you, like, stay involved with your wife or your girlfriend or your kids? I hope not. At the end of the day, I'm hoping that those relationships are coming a little bit more natural to you. Now, it's not natural to have that same depth of relationship with your business clients, and I don't expect that you're going to. However, you do need to run deeper than you're currently running in that relationship with your past customers and the people with whom you're adding value if you have any expectation whatsoever that they're going to help you with repeat and referral business. The first system that I had in real estate nearly 30 years ago was index cards. I would write down people's name and phone number and their address and some of their core needs. And if I was very lucky, I could find out an estimated transaction date on them. And I would keep track of these index cards. First off, I needed the rubber band. And then before you know it, I had more and more of these index cards. And by the end of the year, I needed the shoebox. So I had a 3x5 card stacked into a shoebox. Now, by today's standard, that might seem a little ridiculous. However, the shoebox eventually became a spreadsheet, and then that eventually became a CRM. However, had I not started in that simple methodology some 30 years ago, I would have had not very much appreciation for the fact that there's a big difference between a process and a system. A system is where you're documenting the things you need to document. That could be mechanical, it could be index cards, it could be I'm writing it in a notebook. It could be more sophisticated. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be even more sophisticated. It could be a managed database, a CRM, a customer relations management software package. At the end of the day, be careful. Just because you have a lot of technology on your hands, it doesn't mean you're going to be in a deep enough relationship with someone when it comes time to transact. The goal is to maintain this relationship and use the technology, the system, and the process to enhance how you're reaching out and how you're engaging your customers. Let's talk a little bit about how we're assigning grades and values to our customers. One of the things that was very frustrating for me when I first started out is I had adopted other people's vocabulary and I didn't have any context around it. So, for example, somebody would tell me how many A leads do you have? How many B leads do you have? Do you have any C leads? How many hot leads do you have? And they would, force down these requirements on me in terms of definition. And that is, an A lead is going to be someone who's going to transact in 30 to 45 days. And then a B lead, of course, is like, 60 to 90 days. And a C lead is sometime after 6 months. Great. That's fine. But then something would happen and 30 days would come and go and my A lead wouldn't transact. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, they must be a B lead by default, right? Because that empirically would make sense. And then they wouldn't transact after 90 days. So they must be, well, they're just not going to do it, right? Dang, missed that one. So needless to say, I was getting really discouraged. And so a couple of years into the business, I finally arrived at this a slightly different definition and understanding, something that I could internalize a little bit better. So I knew that transacting was not convenient. It's not convenient to buy or sell a home. you've got to put all your stuff in, a moving van. It's got to go from point A to point B. And all the time, somebody is asking for more money and more money. Write a check, write a check, write a check. So it's not convenient to move. Even though it might be exciting and it might be necessary, it's certainly not convenient. So with that said, what we have to understand is in order for somebody to transact and truly get over the finish line successfully, they have to be highly motivated to do so. Now, this seems pretty obvious, but the truth of the matter is, are we as professionals really tracking people's motivation? Probably not. Most of the interrogation of the questions that we get through when it comes to talking to a customer is more around their requirements, right? It's like, well, how many bedrooms do you need? Do you need a big backyard, small backyard? How close does it have to be for commuting purposes? Do you want to be close to the school? So we ask all these requirement type questions. Hey, they're important questions. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, the first question that I want to get settled in terms of managing my pipeline is urgency. When were you planning on moving? When it comes to moving, do you have a goal in mind? I know you're looking at a variety of homes, and I know, it's been very interesting to help you, but help me understand what is your goal when it comes to your time frame. So why do I get that urgency settled so quickly in terms of pipeline management? Simple, simple, simple. It's going to help me prioritize who I'm following up with and what I'm saying to them. Now, if somebody is highly motivated or they can give me an estimated transaction date, then I know they're highly motivated because we've already established that moving's not convenient. So if they're highly motivated, there has to be a reason. And now I have a date, I have an estimated date, and I have a reason. So my follow up with those people is really simple. It's very administrative. I simply call them up and then I reconfirm the date and the core reason. Hey, Ted, I know you wanted to move and be settled by September the 1st. And the reason is the school system. You want to make sure your kids are settled in school. Shortly after you move, you want to make sure that you don't have to worry about that. It's a core reason. Now, when it comes to children, is that emotionally powerful enough to get somebody over the finish line? It usually is. So if their core motivation is powerful and you've got a date, then you're following up around date and reason and you're just validating that stuff. Now, if you don't get a date, hey, not the end of the world. The truth of the matter is if you take a look at your overall database, about 93% of the people that you have in your database do not have an estimated transaction date. Why? For any number of reasons. Maybe they just moved. Maybe the home where they currently live is 100% satisfactory. Or maybe they don't want to have an increased house payment. Maybe they don't want to deal with the inconvenience of moving. Maybe they just don't need it. They're totally fine with where they are. Do you neglect these people? Absolutely not. You want to make sure that you establish good relationships with these people as well. And you're doing it in more of a broadcast methodology. So you're engaging them on social media. You might have them on a drip campaign. You periodically make a phone call, send a text. You don't have specific date, which means you don't have specific reason, which means it's going to be really difficult for you to have a conversation with them about real estate because they're not going to be interested at that time. However, all of your future earnings is in that 93% tab. 93% of the people in your database don't have an estimated transaction date today, but they will at some point in the future. If you live in a place that's got over 1 million people in the general population of the metro, you can rest assured that people are going to move on average probably about 4 times over the course of their life. So if you're just deal chasing and deal chasing and deal chasing, you're not going to establish enough of a relationship to get this person's repeat and referral business. The repeat and the referral business is absolutely essential. The most successful realtors on the planet are getting 85 or 90% of their leads through repeat and referral. The other 10% or 15% of the leads that they generate are coming from the listings that they've procured as a result of repeat and referral. So the next thing you have to do is, okay, Great. So I have a core philosophy. I've got buyer leads and I've got marketing leads. My buyer leads have a date. My marketing leads don't. My buyer leads I'm following up with around specific information and dates. And my marketing leads, I am just trying to stay in some sort of a relationship with them and remain interesting to them, knowing full well that I'm not the only realtor or mortgage lender in town, that, people have a lot of choices when it comes to that. And so I need to present myself as an interesting person who also happens to be in the business, right? So although I said something about, not needing or using a CRM, what I'm really trying to indicate is make sure that when you start using your CRM or some other method, that you understand how to identify the two core groups. I do absolutely recommend using a CRM at some point in the future, but what I would have you do before that is just start working with a very simple Excel spreadsheet or in Google Sheets. Basic contact information: first name, last name, email, telephone, home address, last touched, core reason would be in your marketing tab. Your sales tab on that spreadsheet has the same categories, but it has an additional column. That additional column is called estimated transaction date. And at the other side, you've got reason or remarks. If you have a date in that column, it's really simple. You're following up around the date and you're following up around the core reason. As you're having more interactions and conversations with your marketing leads, eventually something's going to pop up and you're going to be able to identify a date and a reason. That person's going to go on your sales lead sheet, and you got a bunch of dates. And so before you know it, you got 5, 10, 15, 20 people on that sheet. Just go to the top of the column and sort it by date. You're going to see in sequence your next series of transactions, your next 5 transactions, your next 10 transactions, your next 15 transactions. Now, a very interesting thing and very simple thing happens with the spreadsheet. I can look at it and validate your data pretty rapidly. And so if you have an estimated transaction date on somebody and a core reason, and I take a look at your spreadsheet and you don't have complete contact information, they live, what city they live in, what street they live on, but you're not really sure their street address. So here's the truth. You're not in enough of a relationship with this person that they're going to trust you enough to transact with you. Now, I know there's all sorts of, you know, tools on the internet right now where you can go and I can find your home address with your phone number. I can do a search on you with an information platform and learn everything about you. That's fine. But let me ask you this. Is that advancing the relationship? Of course it's not. And so it just makes you a creeper. So what you're doing is you're creeping around trying to get additional information on someone so that you can somehow leverage that information up into a payday. That's not relationship. It's not a relationship that I'd want to be in with you. And so what might make better sense is that you're having a sequence of interactions with that person over the phone, text, face to face, and they tell you their street address. They offer the information. Why is this so important? Because how can you measure the quality of your relationship if someone's not willing to give you information like their first name, last name, their street address, their email address, and their phone number? I can go into your sales tab on your Excel sheet and I can sort it by street address. Great. You got a first name, a last name. You have a Gmail account for them. But out of the 20 people that you have in your sales tab, well, look at this. You only have 10 home addresses. What do you got to do? You got to get in there and you have to advance the relationship to the point at which this person finds you interesting enough and trusts you enough, and you're providing enough value to them that they'd want to give you that sort of information. When you're quote unquote working in your database or working your leads, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go into your sales lead tab, and I want you to go also into your marketing leads tab. And I want you to start looking for what I call Swiss cheese. Now, I'm looking at my spreadsheet and I got 50 lines in front of me, and I got a white space, a blank, a blank, a white space, a blank. What is that? Missing a last name, missing a phone number. The first thing you need to do is start filling in those blanks. The more complete the database you have, the higher the likelihood is that you're going to be able to get into a more meaningful conversation with this person. Okay, we've now talked about your sales lead tab and your marketing lead tab. Your sales lead tab, by definition, those people on that part of your spreadsheet have got an estimated transaction date based on a core reason. And everyone else who doesn't have a core date, they're a marketing lead. The third group of people are probably the most important people that you need to keep track of, and these are your past customers. Hopefully, you've provided a very high level of service and created a great service level experience for your past customers that they would consider using you in a transaction again, number one. Number two, that they'd consider referring you to a friend, family member, or a coworker who might be looking for a property or who might need your services. So this shouldn't be something that happens by accident. You've been nurturing this relationship over time. You periodically reconnect with your past customer. You do it over the phone. You do it through an email. You do it face to face. You have coffee with them. And, you're trying to maintain good, solid relationships. The deeper you run with your past customers, the faster you're going to become financially independent and not have to worry so much about prospecting for your next transaction. You're running a better database, you're running a better business, you have predictable results. You should have every expectation that if you're doing the right thing and if you are running your business correctly and you're providing a great service, it's only natural that your past customers would want to help you. For gosh sakes, if you're shy about this, you need to schedule an appointment and come talk to me. It's the number one way that you're going to get predictable results in the future is your past customers. I hope that you found this brief overview on pipeline management helpful. There are 1,000 more details to fill in, and I look forward to being able to help you. Please reach out to me. I don't care whose logo is on your business card or who you might call boss. I look forward to helping you in any way that I can. Please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, visit our website and schedule your free 30-minute evaluation.